The American antelope, there's nothing like it. You need to get out here and experience this. The pronghorn, otherwise known as the American antelope, there is no other animal like it on Earth. It's a truly unique, distinct species. It has no cousins anywhere on the planet. And for somebody who wants to go after big game in the West for an iconic Western hunt, the antelope is the way to go.
My brother was the first one to introduce me to hunting, so it was only fitting that he be the one to take me out here on my first antelope hunt. So finally the time came for me to head out from school and go down to my brother's place, and we met up and hit the gun range. And when we first got to the range, we took a few shots as is, and I was a little skeptical. My shots weren't all there, my groupings weren't that great, and I was a little nervous, a little embarrassed, honestly. And then we switched up the stock and switched up the trigger, and I took a few shots and I couldn't believe how much smoother it was. My groupings were just a lot better, and I truly just felt a lot more confident in the shots I was taking.
So I've been wanting to put together what I would consider like just the idyllic Western big game hunting rifle. I do a lot of hunting out west now, and I've been shifting back and forth, trying a bunch of different rifles, synthetic stocks, wood stocks, but I wanted to just have that classic looking rifle to break in on this hunt with my brother, but then to also have for years moving forward that I can bring it with me west every time I come out here to hunt. So what I did was I found a custom hardwood gun stock from Boyd's. I got it fit to my specifications, my length of pull. It just happens to be that my brother has the same length of pull as me, so the rifle would fit him great. And it's just a sweet looking rifle that's customized just for me, that I'm gonna have for the rest of my life to be able to hunt Western big game. Okay. Now on this particular hunt, it was special for me because my great uncle showed me the ropes a number of years ago, and now I've been passing it on to other people, and my brother has never hunted antelope before. So we decided several years back we were gonna start putting in for a tag together, and when we drew, we were both gonna go together, and that's what happened this year. What I really like about hunting in Montana is the public land structure. There are so many different types of public land. You got state lands, you've got BLM, which is federal land, you've got block management areas, which are private land holdings that are enrolled in a program so the public can access the land for hunting. And I have spent a lot of my time here in eastern Montana taking advantage of that block management program.
So of course when we left Friday morning, we were both amped, but my brother was super worried about the road conditions, and I kind of gave him crap, and I didn't think it would be so bad, so I was just like, hey, relax, like it's not going to be bad. But the further west we got, the worse it got.
It's October 11th. I'm going 40 miles per hour in a 70 in South Dakota, creeping my way to eastern Montana. Got my brother riding shotgun. Antelope season opens tomorrow morning in Montana, and I don't care if we have to crawl through this blizzard to get there, we're gonna get there. And tomorrow morning we're gonna be out there going after some pronghorn. But in the meantime, it's some white knuckle driving, and just gotta get there in one piece. So little did we know that just getting out here was gonna be half the battle. $1,000 truck cover just blew off. Almost blew into Missouri River. Highway 12 was a force to reckon with in itself. It was the worst, horrific conditions I've ever driven in. and we probably shouldn't have been on the road. But when you've been thinking about a hunting trip for months, you're gonna drive 800 miles at 45 miles per hour just to get there. And that's exactly what we did. We got here the day before opening of antelope season. We set up camp next to a reservoir. It was still colder than sin. The wind was blowing. We had minus 30-degree sleeping bags to help us get through the night. But we were gonna hunt, and there was nothing that was gonna stop us.
So when we woke up the first day, I was pretty excited. My brother had kind of amped up the area and told me that in years past, there were a ton of antelope around. So as we hit the road, I was pretty pumped. But as we started to drive around and look for these antelope, there were no antelope.
All I can do at this point is throw my arms in the air, because I've never seen it like this out here. We are just not finding antelope, and I told this guy that we were going to be covered up in antelope the whole time, and that it just hasn't been the case.
We weren't really seeing any animals, but the day before we had seen a herd as we were driving into town, and my brother just kind of said, hey, let's keep it in our back pocket. So as the day went on and we weren't seeing anything, I kind of figured maybe we reach back into our back pocket and go check that spot out and see if those antelope were still there. So we drove back there to give it a look, and sure enough, they were still there. And even better, about half of them were on the public side of things. So we knew right away we had to get out and get a game plan going. So we geared up and took out onto the public land, and we had to make kind of a wide hook to get to a spot that would give us even a slight chance to put a stock on them. And as we kind of made our hook, they kept coming further and further onto the public land.
So we put a plan together, we started to stalk our way in, and we had no idea that luck was going to turn so quickly in our direction.
So we got stuck in this weird spot, and we had to just kind of lay down in this valley as these antelope were up top, and we were both kind of looking at each other. But I wanted to make a move, and my brother just kind of told me that this is going to be a waiting game, and let's just wait and see how things play out.
But right at last light, some magic happened.
This buck, for whatever reason, decided to stray from the whole herd and just go off on his own. As he was preoccupied feeding and doing his thing, we basically just bum rushed him and tried to close the distance between us. Got into a shooting position, got everything set, and I took my shot. Kind of jumped. I saw him jump after I shot, and I was like, all right, pretty sure that's a hit, but then he kept walking, and we were both kind of watching him, and you just saw him doing those woozy steps, and he just went down.
I couldn't believe it. The way things started out on this trip, driving through a storm, getting out here, realizing that most of the antelope are gone. I never would have thought that on the first evening, my brother was going to shoot his very first antelope out here in Montana.
Once I knew he was down, I had a major feeling of relief. You know, everything in the past few months, past few years finally came together, and I had my first antelope down, and I couldn't have been more excited, more relieved, and just more grateful to be out there in that country and have had a successful opportunity at an antelope.
Someone was looking out for us. He got a beautiful animal. We worked together under headlamps in the dark to get that animal taken care of and packed out, and all we had left to do was sit there and revel in our success and think about what was going to happen the next day when I got a chance to get out there and go after a goat for myself.
My baby, just 3 weeks to go. The rain is
So day 2 was off the get-go, seemed to be a bit more active. We went to a new area.
So we just started covering ground. Call this the Montana traffic jam. Turned out that there were several large herds that just so happened to be on private ground.
Got eyes on a herd of antelope. Kept driving around and saw more antelope, but it seemed like all of them were on private ground, so it made things really tough. My brother tried his hardest to get access at various private properties, but nobody was taking the was going for the offer.
Bye.
All we could do was watch those animals, kind of file them away, think about coming back later to see if they moved onto some public ground. It didn't seem like it was going to happen, and we were getting tired. We were driving around, the sun was beating down through the windshield of the truck, and
finally we came down this road and we saw a lone buck just like mine.
I've never seen an antelope down in this area before. I've hunted here several times, and it's kind of no man's land, but let's see what he's got. If he keeps going over there, he's definitely going on to some public. So I pulled up my HuntStand app, I checked the property lines, and it turned out the direction that this buck was heading, he was just about to get onto some public ground. So we made a move for it, hauled ass up the road, parked, geared up, tried to get ahead of this buck, and within a matter of minutes, I was squeezing a trigger.
Right there.
All right, antelope, eastern Montana, public land. Just anchored them with a single shot at 350 yards. This all happened so fast. I'm talking 10 minutes, and I got this animal. Holy smokes, this is what it's all about. I can't believe this.
I just couldn't believe it. You know, I was just so excited. I'd tagged out, now my brother had tagged out. Hunt successful. Couldn't have asked for anything else. I mean, we did it. We got through all the tough weather and all the other hard stuff, and we both had an animal on the ground.
Pronghorn antelope are just an incredible species, and we're so fortunate to be able to have them out here on these western lands, and especially on these public lands where we can just run free and go after these glorious animals. You know, your adrenaline is pumping, you're moving fast, you're out of breath, and when you get in position to shoot, you need to make dang sure that you're going to be able to take a good, clean shot. And this goat was at 350 yards, so that's not a short shot by any means for anybody. And I practice shooting a lot, but I'm going to tell you right now that the ability to squeeze this trigger and know that it's going to be like butter, I don't even have to think twice about it. It's like this trigger is my third arm. And with this, I was able to take this tremendous animal, and now we make meat. I am such a huge advocate for the American antelope that hopefully one of these days you can find some time to get out there on the prairie yourself and just see what this is all about, because I can guarantee you once you start, you're never going to want to stop.
Now that I've gotten out here and had my first taste of antelope hunting, I can definitely say that I'm hooked. This is a hunt that I want to do for the rest of my life. Can't believe how unique and fun of a hunt that it is, and I'll definitely be back.
The American antelope, it is something else. And I'm telling you right now, you need to get out here and experience this animal in this hunt.